Monday, February 4th, 1974. A 19-year-old Heiress to the powerful Hearst family is taken from her college dorm by an armed group in Berkeley, California. Held for ransom, the story captured the nation as the Hearst family desperately pleaded and negotiated for the safe return of their daughter.
Quiet continues at the Hearst home.
But the investigation would take a shocking turn as images surfaced of their victim taking up arms with her hostage takers and robbing a San Francisco bank in broad daylight. And the world would be shocked yet again as the fiasco kidnapping of Patty Hearst came to a bloody end after 1,200 rounds were exchanged with the LAPD. In 1973, 29-year-old prisoner Donald DeFries escapes from Soledad State Prison, where he had been serving a 5-year sentence for armed robbery. And while serving time, he befriended many members of a far-left urban guerrilla movement and had become encapsulated in the theory of vanguardism, and established his own group called the Symbionese Liberation Army, taken from the word symbiosis, and Symbionese is not a word. The SLA, mostly consisting of angsty Berkeley dropouts, set out to defy the system and give back to the people, but would quickly become radicalized by DeFries, and things quickly turned violent when Oakland Unified School District Superintendent Marcus Foster introduced a plan to implement ID cards to students. The SLA condemned Marcus Foster, stating his actions were fascist. And on November 6, of 1973, the SLA shot and killed Marcus Foster and badly wounded his deputy, Robert Blackburn. The community of Oakland was outraged, and the SLA found themselves backed into a corner, and 2 of its members were arrested in connection to the crime. And with nothing left to lose, the SLA set out to abduct an important public figure to use as leverage to negotiate the release of their imprisoned members. And 1 month later, on February 4th, Patty Hearst, granddaughter of newspaper tycoon and inspiration for the 1941 film Citizen Kane, William Randolph Hearst, was taken by the SLA. They immediately issued their demands to the Hearst estate, that they can have their daughter back if the authorities release their imprisoned members. The law enforcement personnel immediately rejected this, and the SLA instead asked for ransom in the form of a food distribution program to feed the homeless. And by February 23rd, the demand was met, but the operation came to an abrupt halt as the food distribution center quickly turned violent, as thousands fought for the free food. Meanwhile, the FBI began narrowing down the possible whereabouts of the SLA safe house. But the SLA frequently moved, leaving the feds with more questions than answers. And little did anybody know that Patty Hearst was slowly bonding with her hostage takers and falling victim to Stockholm Syndrome. She began pitching them ideas, building friendships, and expressing interest in joining their cause. And between her naive age and DeFries' polarizing influence, not even 13 days into her captivity, Patty Hearst became a full-blown member of the SLA. By April of 1974, running low on cash, the SLA decided to hit a Hibernia Bank in San Francisco. And on the morning of April 15th, the group barged through the doors, armed with full-auto M1 carbines. They rounded up the tellers and cleaned out with a take of $10,000. Images of Patty Hearst's participation in the robbery brought on a media frenzy and shame to the powerful Hearst family, who immediately went on damage control. Their once victimized daughter, robbed of a bright future, had seemingly become a felon overnight, and investigators were just as confused. Pretty much like the world was confused. The SLA invested the money back into their group and moved to Los Angeles, setting up shop in Compton, where their numbers increased from 10 to 22. And their short stint in Los Angeles would also end in violence, when an SLA member was stopped by security at a sporting goods store for shoplifting. Patty Hearst opened fire on the store to allow her friends to escape, and they made out on foot, abandoning their van. The shooting prompted a major response from the LAPD and the FBI, as a petty shoplifting case quickly met the elements of armed robbery. The feds recognized the van and discovered a 3-day-old parking ticket inside with the group's new home address. But the SLA quickly ditched their Compton safe house after seeing the incident made the news, and they took over a neighboring house at gunpoint. And by the following day, an anonymous caller reported them to the police. And by noon, more than 400 LAPD officers, along with FBI special agents, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, California Highway Patrol, and Los Angeles Fire surrounded the neighborhood, and a negotiator from the LAPD fired up a bullhorn, and the standoff began. The residents held up within the house ran to the police after the LAPD's initial call to surrender. They reported that there were several people inside their home with lots of guns, and the SLA refused to surrender. Police deployed tear gas into the house, and the SLA members responded with bursts of automatic gunfire, and the revolver-heavy police force took cover. And as members of the LAPD SWAT team returned fire with their ARs, the SLA responded by throwing grenades into the streets. And at this point, all hell broke loose. And 2 hours into the siege, the house caught fire, most likely from the tear gas canisters. And even through the flames, the SLA continued to unleash automatic gunfire. One SLA member, Camila Hall, stepped out of the house while shooting at police and was struck multiple times by LAPD. After Hall fell to the ground, another SLA member dragged her back into the burning house. And as the flames intensified, the shooting came to a halt as the house became fully involved, and all SLA members within chose to stay and perish, including leader Donald DeFries. But Patty Hearst was elsewhere, watching the siege unfold on live TV from a hotel room with 2 other remaining SLA members. They returned to the Bay Area and began couch surfing with students at Berkeley. They acquired a few new members and committed yet another bank robbery on April 21st of 1975. And SLA member Emily Heiress accidentally fired her shotgun during the robbery, killing a 42-year-old mother of 5, Myrna Opsel. And at this point, the group began to crumble, and by September, all remaining members were captured by police, including Patty Hearst.
Good evening. Patty Hearst has been taken into custody. The FBI says Patty Hearst was picked up today in San Francisco.
Yesterday afternoon, as the Harrises came out in jogging clothes, police and FBI grabbed them. She tried to run. He did not.
Five SLA members were ultimately charged in the murder of Myrna Opsel. Patty Hearst denied her role in the robbery, claiming she was forced to by her kidnappers. She later pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 7 years in prison. And after 2 years served, President Jimmy Carter commuted the remainder of her sentence, and President Bill Clinton gave her an official pardon. She would move on and marry, and resume her life as if nothing happened. SLA member Joseph Ramiro is the only SLA member that remains incarcerated, serving a life sentence for the murder of Marcus Foster.
I'm with a combat unit that's armed with automatic weapons. These people aren't just a bunch of nuts. They've been really honest with me. I am a prisoner of war, and so are the 2 men in San Quentin. I'm here because I'm a member of a ruling class family, and I think you can begin to see the analogy.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to stay up to date on all my upcoming projects, be sure to check me out over on Instagram. And also, sorry this video is so short. I got a travel week coming up, and I needed to piece something up real quick like. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.